Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Down in the Country podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Reed, and today we are joined by another up and coming country music artist, Chloe Crowder. Thank you so much for your time today, Chloe.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
And you know, uh, just to start off the conversation, coming from a small West Tennessee town where you developed your passion for music, how has your how did it help you, enhance your passion for female country music talent?
Yeah, so growing up, all I really listened to, like my mom, all she listened to was like 90s country, rock. It was like always that female, like country rage, I feel like. And since moving to Nashville, I realized just how like little women make it in the industry, and that's just kind of just how it is here. And so that's really kind of what mainly inspires me to pursue music like to the fullest and um, just being different, like Shania Twain, Gretchen Wilson. I love how they just really stood out in music, and that's really what I want to do.
Yeah, and it's interesting too as well because it's very hard to define country music to just one specific style. Now, because it's so different. Um, like you have, for example, one of my favorites, Lainey Wilson has her style. You have like Keith Urban, his style. Thomas Rhett, his style. So it's like um, because growing up, being from Texas, originally from Dallas, so like I listened to the first album that I remember listening straight through was "Carrying Your Love with Me," George Strait's 1997 album, and then the first song, because it seems like everybody who's a fan of music, um, and I'm only speaking to people in who are fans of country music, is like they have that one album and they also have that one song that they have like a lot of emotional attachment to. um, so the album was that "Carrying Your Love with Me" with George Strait, and then the "I Hope You Dance" Leanne Womack from I think it was 2000. So I'm aging myself when I say that because like that song is might be like 25 years old now, if I did the
Yeah.
math correct. With a little bit of Mickey Gilley here and there too as well. So it's not a sheer coincidence that they're all from Texas, but it's interesting just kind of it seems like specifically in the South, based off of where you're from, that's what you perceive country music to be. Like it's not, it's it's very hard to define as a genre now.
Oh yeah, it's definitely just like I feel like the underlining thing is the storytelling and just like the classic, like the banjo, the steel. Like that's just what I love, and I never pictured myself like incorporating that in my music, but I feel like now, even being in Nashville and seeing how much it's changing, that's kind of what I want to hold true is that traditional sound, but like a
Mhm.
modern spin. So,
Yeah, and you know you've written multiple songs, but the two I want to highlight are "Free Time" and "Good for Me." Could you just give us an introduction of what "Free Time" is about?
yeah, free time is just basically about not having any time to waste. I went in that day and I sat down with two of my friends who helped me write it, and I went on a date with a guy, and it was just obviously did not go as expected, and I was just like, dating in Nashville is really tough because everyone's just young and kind of like still in that party scene, and so I was just like, I'm done wasting my time. I don't have any free time. I'm so busy. I'm done. And so we kind of liked that idea for the hook. And then one of my friends was like, it would be really cool to kind of incorporate like money and not selling any free time. So that's just kind of how that came about.
Awesome. And not to spoil it too much, but the the vocals when the song first starts, that's kind of really what got me to listen to the
Thank
entire
you.
song. Do you
Yeah,
mind
that
if
was
we
like a last minute.
do you mind if we play a clip?
Yeah.
Don't you get it, honey? I'm not selling any free time. You say you wanna head to the sports bar. Maybe I should pick you up in my car. Cause stable clothes, I drive you home in case you have one too many. You spend the whole night looking past me, watching someone rerun on the TV. Oh, I know how it'll go, cause we've been through this already. And I think I'm better off just cutting my losses, cause I'm sick of you showing up late. You say you got a lot on your plate. I'm better off counting loose change than counting on all the plans you made. They say time is money, but you think mine ain't worth a dime. Don't you get it, honey? I'm not selling any free time.
So I gotta ask, first of all, whoever does your Spotify like video reels does like a very good job. Um, what your boots, like, are they leather? Are they like snakeskin? I'm just curious. That's one of the things.
No, they're leather. They're Tacovas, so they're my children.
Okay, yeah, because I'm like, boots ain't cheap is what I learned the hard way.
Yeah. No, definitely not.
Yeah, I was you know, a little off topic, but I was in Nashville, and I like walked into the Lucchese store like in the Gulch area, and I like saw some of those prices, and I'm like, wow, over two
Oh,
thousand
I've
dollars
never
for
been in there. That's the
yeah.
dream when my song goes number one, for sure.
It's like $2,000 for boots. I'm like that's like a rent.
Yeah.
Just to put that in perspective. And then for free time when you were writing it, putting together the melody, mixing, and then mastering it. I was just curious, like, did you have like an ideal um, vision of what you wanted the song to not only to sound like, but for people to feel and to react to it?
Yeah, obviously I wanted it to be really fun and country, so I wanted that banjo, the steel, mandolin. That was super fun, and I feel like because it was string focused, it kind of took you back to that 90s feel. And I just feel like the melody and the lyrics kind of explained itself, so that's kind of what we wanted to highlight. It was
Hmm.
really fun.
And it's very what I did like about it too as well is that it started off with, I don't know if like this is the technical terminology, but it's like kind of the hard vocals kind of coming in at first.
Yeah,
Kind of what you were saying
yeah,
was kind of a last second addition. Um, and then you kind of slowly but added in the uh, the banjo, and then you added kind of what you're saying, the mandolin. So it seemed like everything built on to each other nicely. Like I didn't expect to hear the
yeah,
banjo and then the mandolin. I was like, oh wow, like that's really cool. I didn't know that you can really do that with those stringed instruments. So that was pretty cool.
yeah.
And then the second song too, as well, that it was good for me. So could you just provide like an intro of kind of what that song means to you and kind of what you were thinking of at the time?
Yeah, I wrote Good for Me at the end of last year. So it was fall time. I was in my fields. I love writing just like really deep songs, and I wanted to put out a song that just really told a story. So that one's really the most authentic to me in my life growing up. I'm from a really small town in Tennessee, like I said. So you either like stay in that town, you marry the person you went to high school with, that kind of thing. And so the song's just kind of about like your first love's obviously not going to work out, and that's okay because you have so much life ahead of you. And it's just about me chasing my dreams honestly and not kind of settling. So,
Awesome. And do you mind if we listen to a clip of that song too as well?
Yeah, for sure.
Good for you. Heard you moved. You're doing great out there. Found someone new. She's pretty cool. Guess she doesn't care about your late nights out. Talking about your truck and your plans from a living room couch. But that ain't me right now. Good for you. Yeah, you grew. But you never did change like I hoped you'd do. And the truth is that's okay, cause I said goodbye and you didn't try. Watch my car just drive away. But hey, I've been losing track of time. Since you left, I'm doing fine. Turn to sleep better with an inside. I took
No, I really love the kind of that guitar picking pattern. Whoever came up with that, like that kind of really
Yeah.
set the mood for the song.
Yeah, no, we kind of said that before we even started writing anything. Because I wanted it to be just like vocals and a guitar. Obviously, I do want to put out an acoustic one eventually, but that's not how things are put out. But yeah, it's really just vulnerable. I like that it highlights that like picking pattern in the lyrics. It was
Hmm.
really special to write. So
Yeah, and it's and it's very interesting because it seems like to kind of compare and contrast free time with good for me. There are a lot of, even though like the tempo is different and kind of the mood and the ambiance of each of those songs is different, they do really have similar themes.
yeah, I would say a lot of my songs, even if it's just like 20% real life in it, like it's gonna have some sort of theme that I've gone through. Everything I put out and continue to put out, I want to be 100% authentic. So,
Awesome. And as well, like both free time and good for me are two examples where you combine that 90s country influence that you're pretty passionate about with your own unique sound. My question is how have both of these songs, how have they created stories that your audience can relate to?
yeah. Ideally, like I want any kind of person, no matter your age, gender, anything, I want them to relate to my music. I feel like Good For Me was just like a side where, okay, it's time to let people know who I am and where I come from and that it's okay. Like, no matter where you come from, you can do whatever you want. It may be 10 times harder, but you can do it. And then Free Time's just like a really fun song. Like, I want everyone to relate to. Um, it's just kind of taking it back to like that 90s country feel, but modern day. I was
Hmm.
listening to like a lot of Haley Witters, Shania Twain's obviously my favorite female country artist. So yeah, I just kind of want to mix, like, no matter if it's happy, sad, just something that everyone relates to. So
Hmm. And in particular with both of those songs, um, when you were kind of thinking about kind of the like what key I want to play in or what notes I want to play in, do you, from like a creative process standpoint, did you already know like, hey, like I have the theme that I know I want to talk about it, or did you kind of literally kind of start from scratch and be like, I have the theme, but I have like, I don't know what lyrics I want to write, I don't know kind of what key I want to do, like um because it seems like based off of the composition of both of those songs that the creative process was different.
yeah, I always start off with a melody. I feel like with Free Time, I actually didn't though. It was mainly lyric focused, so it just kind of depends on what I'm feeling. 90% of the time I'm gonna have a melody in my head and I'm just gonna be like, okay, what do we want to say? What fits here? But Good for Me, I already knew what I wanted to say and kind of how I wanted it to sound. So it just kind of depends, but I'm very melody focused. I always have to help people with words. Like I know what I want to say, but I kind of have a problem like getting it all out. So that's
Hmm.
where my songwriter friends really come into play.
Yeah, yeah, because it's interesting just writing. Um, just like I guess I'll say on this podcast, I do some writing in my free time just to kind of see like, oh,
In
like
your
could
free
this,
time.
yeah, yeah. So just kind of seeing what can relate, kind of what things work, what doesn't. And one of the things I've really picked up on is when you're writing, it doesn't have to be a song. It could be a paper or it could be a book or an article or whatever. You're not going to get it right the first time. Like it's going to be a whole
No.
bunch of mumbo jumbo. Like, there might be some grammatical errors. There might be like, I hate this theme. I'm going to like crumble up the paper and just throw it in the trash and start anew.
Yeah, redo half of it and yeah.
Yeah. And that's my biggest weakness is like I want to get it right the first time and I'm like, oh, like I almost had like, maybe I might be a little type A, but it's like if I'm like 95% done, I'm like, well, what happened to the 5%? Like, why did that lag off for some reason?
Yeah. I'm a perfectionist too. It's yeah, my producer will tell you. But I mean, I really think that just shows how much you care and you want it to be perfect. And it's okay to have high standards, but it's also okay to have fun and just remember that you're doing what you love. So,
Hmm. Yeah. And, um, to kind of bring it back to your small West Tennessee town, and I think this is like very important with kind of what you've kind of said previously about highlighting where you're come from and like being confident in yourself and being it's fine, it's okay to be vulnerable. But how is your small West Tennessee town, how is it represented in your music, and who Chloe Crowder aims to become in country music?
yeah, I feel really bad. I feel like I don't have too many songs that truly represent, I guess, where I came from. Good for Me was like the only one, but um just like the vulnerability, like growing up, I would always just be in my room alone, like writing songs and singing and listening to that old country that you hear. And so I really just, no matter what I do, I want to keep it authentic. And even though like super country sounding things may not be what's in right now, even though I feel like Lainey Wilson's kind of trailblazing that, I I want to stick to what I know and love, and I
Hmm.
still want to challenge myself, but out of anything, like whatever I write in the future, I want to stay true to who I am, and I'll never like do something that conflicts that, I guess.
And you just brought up a great segue to my next question. So, with what you've written currently, and that includes free time and good for me, do you foresee yourself um, kind of in the next step of your musical journey, like doing shows, dropping a new EP, or like a full album, or kind of where do you see yourself within the next 2 to 5 years?
Yeah, I definitely do want to start touring soon. I feel like the last 2 years I've been writing so much and pushing myself any way I can. I do writers runs around town, but I do start doing full band shows. So that is like my next step because I feel like I do just want to go around to those small towns and meet the people who were there and let them know like, hey, you're seen. So that is kind of my next step. I do also want to do an EP eventually. I feel like right now I've just been doing so many singles and trying out things and just kind of discovering myself too. Because I started putting out music the end of 2022. So that's kind of where I am right now. So
And based off of your like, since releasing music in 2022, what would you say from like a percentage like point from like 1% to 100%, have you kind of fully discovered kind of your identity and kind of your voice and kind of what um, kind of the intonations in your voice and your with your songs, like what you feel comfortable with, kind of where are you on that? Kind
Yeah,
of
I feel like honestly, I would say like 60 to 70%. Like, I'm still always growing and learning, especially in my songwriting. I've come such a long way. Us was the first song I ever put out that I wrote alone. And um, just the more I write with people, the more I grow. So I'm still not 100% sure, but I think that's what's really fun about it is I keep discovering things about myself. Like free time, I never thought I would do like a bluegrass country sound, and now I'm starting to like that, and it made a Spotify editorial playlist that I still cannot believe. So maybe I'm gonna go down the bluegrass route. I'm not sure, but
awesome. And to bring it home, how do you hope as Chloe Crowder, how do you hope to contribute to the genre and the community of country music?
um oh, that's a big question. I do want to contribute like a true country sound, but with that kind of modern day thing. I want to contribute realness, obviously. Um, I know it's kind of controversial. Like country went really pop for such a long time, and so I still want to keep like those true instruments true and like all my music. But just creating a space where everyone, obviously you're not going to please everybody, but just a fun, authentic. I want all my songs to have that true storytelling aspect that everyone did in the 90s. And so I just kind of want to bring that back and keep it going.
Awesome. And Chloe, where can people learn more about you and where can they listen to your music?
Yeah, I'm Chloe Crowder Music pretty much everywhere on social media. My Spotify and Apple Music's Chloe Crowder. And then, yeah, that's pretty much where you can find me. I do have a website, chloecrowdermusic.com. Hopefully, I'm putting up merch soon. But yeah, that's kind of what I have going on right now, and that's where I post my shows and everything on my socials. So,
Awesome. And be sure to subscribe to Down in the Country podcast on YouTube, as well as on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. This is Dylan Reed signing off. Thank you so much again for your time today, Chloe.
yeah, thanks so much for having me.